What if the most dangerous enemy a king ever faced wasn't on the battlefield but sleeping beside him? This is the story of Isabella of France, a queen underestimated, betrayed, and pushed to the edge until she did something no one thought possible. By the end of this video, you'll understand how she didn't just rebel, she rewrote the rules of power itself. In 1308, Isabella of France, just a teenager, married King Edward II of England. On paper, it looked perfect. A powerful alliance between England and France. A young, beautiful queen. A fresh start. But reality? It was a disaster. Edward wasn't interested in Isabella. Not really. His attention and affection was consumed by his favorite, Piers Gaveston. And he didn't even try to hide it. At their own wedding celebration, Edward reportedly ignored Isabella and spent most of his time with Gaveston. Imagine being a queen and already invisible. That wasn't just embarrassing, it was politically dangerous. Because in medieval courts, power wasn't just about crowns. It was about influence. And Isabella had none. After Gaveston came the Despencer's father and son, who became even worse. These weren't just favorites. They were power-hungry manipulators. They controlled access to the king. They seized lands. They crushed rivals. And they treated Isabella not as a queen but as an obstacle. But here is where it gets interesting. Isabella wasn't just ignored, she was actively stripped of her authority. Her lands were taken. Her allies were pushed out. Her voice? Silenced. Meanwhile, England was falling apart. Barons were rebelling. The economy was unstable. And Edward? He doubled down on the very people causing the chaos. That's when Isabella realized something crucial. This wasn't just a bad marriage. This was a failing kingdom. By the early 1320s, Isabella was no longer just sidelined, she was isolated. The Despensers turned Edward against her completely. At one point, she was separated from her children. Think about that. A queen cut off from her own sons. That wasn't just cruel. It was a message. You have no power here. But instead of breaking her, it did the opposite. It forced Isabella to think differently. Because when you're locked out of the system, you stop trying to play by its rules. In 1325, Isabella was sent to France on a diplomatic mission. Edward probably thought it was a safe move. Keep her away. Keep her quiet. Big mistake. Because once Isabella reached France, something shifted. For the first time in years, she was free from Edward, from the Despensers, from the suffocating court politics of England. And she made a decision that would change history. She refused to return. Instead, she began building something far more dangerous than an army. A plan. In France, Isabella met Roger Mortimer, a powerful English noble who had his own reasons to hate Edward and the Despensers. Mortimer had escaped prison. He was ambitious, ruthless, and ready for revenge. Together, they formed an alliance that was both political and personal. Now, historians still debate their relationship. But one thing is certain. They were unstoppable as a team. Mortimer brought military experience. Isabella brought legitimacy. He had the sword. She had the crown. And together, they had a mission. Take England back. In 1326, Isabella and Mortimer launched their invasion of England. And here's the shocking part. They didn't need a massive army. Because the moment they landed, people started joining them. Why? Because England was tired. Tired of corruption. Tired of the Despensers. Tired of a king who wasn't leading. Isabella didn't just bring soldiers, she brought hope. Cities opened their gates. Nobles switched sides. The regime began to collapse almost overnight. Edward II, once a king, was suddenly a fugitive. As Isabella's forces advanced, the Despensers tried to hold on to power. It didn't last. They were captured. And what followed was brutal even by medieval standards. Hugh Despenser the Younger was executed in a way meant to send a message: this era was over. Completely. This wasn't just revenge. It was a reset. And with the Despensers gone, Edward had no shield left. Edward II was captured soon after. Now here's where history gets complicated. Instead of executing him outright, Isabella and Mortimer forced him to abdicate the throne in favor of his son Edward III. Think about that. A reigning king forced to step down by his own queen. It had never happened like this before. Edward was imprisoned, broken, isolated. And in 1327, he died under mysterious circumstances. Some say it was natural. Others believe it was murder. But one thing is clear. He never ruled again. With Edward II gone, Isabella became the most powerful woman in England. She ruled as regent for her young son, Edward III, alongside Mortimer. For a moment, it seemed like her story had a perfect ending. She had escaped oppression, defeated her enemies, taken control of a kingdom. But power always comes at a price. Because the very tactics she used to rise would soon be used against her. Edward III grew up. And he was watching. He saw Mortimer's influence. He saw the control. He saw the echoes of his father's reign. And he didn't like it. In 1330, in a move that shocked everyone, Edward III staged his own coup. Mortimer was arrested and executed. And Isabella? She was spared but removed from power. After everything she had done, she was quietly pushed aside. So what's the real story here? Isabella of France didn't just destroy a king, she proved that power isn't always about strength. Sometimes, it's about timing, strategy, and knowing when to strike. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon because the next story might be even more unbelievable.